podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung, Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. You are listening to the #1 Millwall podcast. Listeners, we're at that end part of the summertime when the football season looms, just 2 or 3 days away now, and it's time for the pre-season chit-chat where we all stare into our collective crystal balls and try to imagine what might or might not happen for the Lions over the season ahead. Now, I'm hoping for a back to the old school panel joining me today, but at the moment it's just me and Michael Avery. How you doing, Michael?
Very well. Looking forward to the start of the season. Normally this is the bit where you start salivating, but it's an early kickoff on Saturday, isn't it? So
yeah, 12:30 start. As I just said, listeners, we are waiting a back to the old school panel of possibly Aaron Paul and possibly Harry Warren, depending on traffic and work and matters beyond our control. But at the moment, Michael and myself have gathered to chew over the cud for the 24-25 season. Mike, I always look forward to a new season. I can't be with the dreary, depressing voices online that kind of see only doom and gloom. If you're a Millwall fan, and after all the years, the collective years on this panel of following the Lions, you can't go into a season expecting to be, at the top of the table. But equally, I think there is, we're short, a little bit light at the moment in squad terms, but I think there's grounds for some optimism, don't you think?
absolutely, and like you just say there about optimism and confidence, not being doom and gloom. We've got to look at the really positive factor that the bookies have got us as fifth favourites for relegation.
Yeah.
We're not.
There's got to be some motivation.
So fifth from bottom, we're not one of the favourites to go down. No, I jest. I'm only kidding. I mean, like you just say there, we've obviously had what we had pre-season with, unfortunately, Matty Sarkic, which is obviously as well very sad.
Yeah.
And the club are going to do a great tribute, retired the number, etc. in the coming days. But if you're a Millwall fan, Nick, you think back to the sort of like mid-90s, early 2000s. If you was to say that Millwall have signed one of the most sought-after lower league strikers in the country, who Neil Harris says he's probably the best finisher in the Football League, yeah, he's got to give it a little bit of corporate spill. But I'm quite excited with that signing. And way it will go. It's basically like an experienced and semi-established Lee Gregory / Steve Morrison. He's gone into the Football League and he can do it. So let's see how he gets on.
I mean, there's plenty of examples across Mill history of us making signings from non-league, some of which have worked, some of which have flopped. But that's the kind of business that we're engaged in. I don't know if any listeners out there have noticed, younger listeners, I'm talking to you now, but we don't sit at the top of the financial league table. So anyone that has any expectation that we're going to finish in the top half, we're going to be a top 6 contender, probably needs to have a pint of realism beer. I'm hoping we've got Harry on the line. Are you there, H? Are you joining us?
I've returned.
We're just talking to Michael, obviously about the management of expectations that any Millwall fan worth his salt must have at the start of the season. But that, for me, is tempered with some optimism. I'm looking forward to getting back to football. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of team Neil Harris can put out. I know it's a bit of talk online about signings and we're looking a bit light, and I agree with that at the moment. But it's time to turn it in if you can't get into a new season without feeling some measure of happiness that football's back.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have something to do on a Saturday afternoon, wouldn't it, rather than the endless morass of summer shit.
As the shopping.
Well, yeah. I don't like the 100, and I don't like Wimbledon, so fucking TV sports kind of out, But yeah, look, at the end of the day, a lot of people making a lot of noise online about signings and whether or not we're weaker, stronger. At the end of the day, we've got what we've got. We've got to make the best of it. That's kind of as pragmatic as you can be and as realistic as you can be. I think we're not one of the worst teams in the division. I think we're probably mid-table, and there's nothing worse in a Millwall fan's head than being a mid-table side, unfortunately. But I think that's where we're going to be. we'll have some. It'd be nice to boil Leeds piss if we can. That'll be an highlight. And a 12:30 trip away to QPR looms on the horizon, thanks to the marvellous Sky Television deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a practical reality of the season. 12:30 starts, Friday night football. I think there's Sunday 12 o'clock starts, and the full gamut of modern day TV coverage that we have to. We're told we have to put up with it so that all the money can slosh around and pay for our new storage cabinets that people have to drop their bags off when they go and watch football for £6 a throw. Anyway, I digress. I mean, Michael, it wouldn't be Millwall, as I said to Neil Fistley, it wouldn't be Millwall without an injury crisis to kick the season off. I'm just looking at the list of injured players, certainly for the opening fixtures. Zian Billy, Murray Wallace, Adam Mayor, Nino Malaki. I think that's everyone. I can't think of any others that are out at the moment. But I think once this, leaving aside the injury crisis, and Neil Harris has said we could do one or two players, but we're not far short of being a competitive 11 in a division. I do agree. There's probably not enough depth. That's been my criticism at the moment. How do you see it, mate?
Yeah, no, I probably agree with that there. And like you say, it's one of those things where I think we've had it for years under Neil Harris. We had it under Gary Rowett, obviously previously. That we just always seem to get players injured all the time, like you were just saying, and what Fizz says. And I think we wouldn't be complaining about depth if we kept any of our players fit. But again, shoe on the other foot, you can't sign 45 players a season. So yeah, we're a little bit threadbare at the moment, and we've got a few connections here and there that need sort of like tying up and putting back together. But ultimately, like you say, we had unfortunately ordered that with Sarkic, but we've got a couple of goalkeepers in. We've got a non-league / League Two striker who's got a little bit of promise. Tanganga was a player that everyone was shouting and screaming about bringing back. We've brought him back. So, are we in a brilliant place? No. Are we in a better place than we normally are this time of the season? When, let's be honest, historically over the years, Mill never normally makes signings until right at the end of the window, and it always tends to be like an Ollie Burke or Alan Campbell. So, I think we think
You've just sworn.
yeah.
You've just sworn at me by mentioning the words that we shouldn't
but
name.
no, but in all seriousness, it's could we get more players in? Yes, but the players we've got in, from my point of view, seem to have a bit of pedigree, and hopefully will do the biz.
We are joined, first time for a long while actually, by Star of Radio 5, Star of BBC Radio London Sport. It's Mr. Aaron Paul. How you doing, Aaron? Long time no speak, mate. How's life?
It's been a while. How are things, everyone? Good summer?
Yeah, I was just chewing over the cud of Millwall, obviously. I was trying to think of a season we'll go back, it's been my 52nd season following the Lions, Aaron. How about that? This one. And I was trying to think of one where we've ever gone into it with the expectation that we're going to do well, that we're going to rip the league up and finish in the top places. I don't think I can ever say that. So, anything above mid-table will be a massive bonus for us this season. And, I think there's always got to be a bit of a dose of realism in the financial league table that is the Championship now, because we will never be one of the big hitters, mate. And to compete in itself is an achievement for a club of our size. Is that unambitious, Aaron? Do you think?
I don't think it's unambitious. I think it's realistic in where the club is right now. I still think that we've got to take everything with a pinch of salt and realise that there's a long time to go in the window yet. We've got 3.5 weeks, and I'm sure that James Berylson and Steve Gallen and Neil Harris are working very, very hard at what they're doing. But we've got to look at the state of the market. You've got Birmingham City in League One chucking money around like it's going out of fashion on players, picking out Alfie May and who, I mean, look, everyone's going for them as favourites for that division. But in the Championship, teams are spending money. It's very, very competitive. And I know for a fact that Mill have gone in for a couple of players. Financially, it hasn't worked for the football club. And we always... on this show, we praise the consistency and the loyalty and what the Berylson family show to the football club. They show so much support, and they try and run the club as efficiently as possible and make sure that it still exists. You see clubs in hemorrhaging money left, right, and centre. This football club doesn't. This football club doesn't have those issues. They've got a loyal owner who wants the best for it, but we've also got to understand where the playing field that Mill are playing in right now, which is they're fighting tooth and nail for every single signing. They've got to get players over the line and hope that they're taking punts on players like a Lucas Jensen, like a Macaulay Langstaff, and hoping it
Macaulay,
hoping it comes off.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you got to.
Go on, Harry. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, and it doesn't also help that I like to bring it up because it pisses me off, but I have to say it. Doesn't help when you bring a load of youngsters through, and because you're in the top 20 of the pyramid, you get to nick them for fucking literally nothing, like Brentford are doing. We've lost another one to Arsenal at under 15s. It's just run of the mill now. It happens to other clubs as well, but when you're a smaller club, and the best you're going to get out of it after the end of the tribunal or the elite player performance plan package, you'll get about 250 grand for someone that realistically will then leave Brentford and probably go for about 25 million or 30 million plus.
Yeah, I mean, whether the planned football governance legislation will touch any of that, remains to be seen. I mean, I think we're probably all putting a lot of hope on something that no one's actually got any great sense of what's going to be in that. But anyway, that's a major problem in the game. I do agree with you, H. I mean, I don't know what the loan market's like at the moment. I mean, Aaron's just said there's still some weeks to go yet in the transfer window. I'm going to hope that we're going to exploit the usual season-long Premier League promising boys kind of market, because that was often what I mean. I'm thinking of Brooke Norton-Cuffy last season. I'm thinking of Ryan Longman. Use of the loan market is going to be crucial for a club of our size too, boys.
Could do a lot worse than bringing Brooke Norton-Cuffy back. Really, I think he adds a lot of width. He adds energy and dynamism on the flanks, and fullback has been a bit of an issue, hasn't it? I mean, I look at that Millwall squad, and you're just looking at it, and you're wondering, is it strong enough? Is it light enough? Is it too light? Is it heavy in certain areas? Is it not heavy in other areas? You're looking at some players and thinking, right, you've been there for a while now. It's time to kick on and really do some bits and pieces at the football club. You know what you're going to get from others. It's a real mixed bag, but I think utilising the loans is going to be key. I'm sure there'll be more ins. I mean, I know I've been reading social media and people are worried that things have gone a bit quiet on that front, but
I mean, it's the market will allow that as and when it allows it. I mean, that's not entirely in our control, is it? I mean, I'm going to guess that will be the level of loan that we want to bring in. Let's see who's available and where clubs want to send their talent to. I mean, part of the question really may be one for you, Harry. I don't know what you think, but I mean, last season's heroics, let's call it what it was achieved with Gary Rowett's tactical setup, but only played much better with more spirit and more bite. Will Neil stick with the 4-2-3-1, or will he go 4-4-2? I haven't really watched any of the pre-season games, so I don't know what setup we've taken there. But Neil traditionally is seen as a 4-4-2 man, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think we'll go 4-4-2. I think we'll go 4-2-3-1, mainly because we haven't got any wingers at the.
Well,
we haven't
that's
got
that
any
problem,
wingers
isn't
at the
it?
club. To be
The
fair,
one winger we got is injured, Adam Mayo.
well, yeah, and it's not just that either. It's like realistically, to replace wingers, it's not just a last season problem. It was a Gary Rowett system that never really had any width. The width was Ollie Burke on loan, or another loan, or Campbell, or Longman. You know, they're all been loan situations. It would be nice to be able to sign that, but obviously, I'm presuming the money that we would have signed wingers and certain players has been spent on having to sign 2 goalkeepers this summer, which takes money and takes time, and unfortunately, that's where we've found ourselves through no fault of anyone. So I can kind of get that, but as you said, as Aaron said, 3 weeks, lot of stuff can happen in 3 weeks. Lot of players can fall out of love with managers if they don't get picked first weekend. I think will be the catalyst for the loan market kicking off. I don't know if you agree with that, Aaron.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you. I also think that things will change. Deals will come available. Like, people will be signing players on permanent, and you don't know who's going to be moving around. So there's always going to be opportunities. And again, I still think they'll be moving at the
I
club.
think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the West Brom thing as well.
The transfer embargo and the restrictions that they're under now. I mean, I'm just looking at the London News Online. I was going to say, Michael, it's always interesting to see which players are featured, and whether you can read anything between the lines. I mean, Roman Essay's on the lead story, praise for him from within the squad. I think it's Joe Bryan praising how good he's been in pre-season, praising his physicality. He's upped his game in that sense, come from being maybe boy to man now. But also mentions of the story of Jason Malumbi, whether that's a run or not, I don't know. He's got an FA hearing to contend with, so that will probably take a few games out of his season for fisticuffs in Spain. But just reading through features on the Courtney Lang stuff, I mean, there's so many unknown factors to this season, whether it be the formation or just how good will Langstaff be. I mean, it's one thing to score loads of goals in non-league, Harry. Another thing to do it in the Championship, mate, isn't it?
It is, but at the end of the day, how many times have Millwall signed a player with no goal scoring pedigree because
loads.
They're sort of, I'll take. Let's I'm thinking of the last one that come from the Premier League. Going back to your, let's get the Premier League starlets. I remember a Mr. Troy Parrott.
Did I see he went to was it PSV or it was one of the Dutch clubs?
Or like AZ Alkmaar or someone
for
like
money.
that, isn't it?
Yeah, but for money, not for nothing, for money.
He was your favourite player that pre-season, Nick, wasn't he? You was right involved, weren't you?
An undisclosed fee is taken in from Tottenham to AZ Alkmaar in the Dutch league. I bought the ticket on the Parrot train there, didn't I? In fact, I made a little list of Millwall ex-Millwall players or related players. John Marquis has gone from Bristol Rovers to Shrewsbury. He was another player of the past who at one point had prospects. But no, Troy Parrott, Tottenham to the Dutch league. So the game's a funny old one, isn't it? It turns quite quickly. It's going to be interesting to see how Langstaff. I keep going to call him Langstaff. It's Langstaff apparently. How he actually shapes up. Would you start him on Saturday, Michael Langstaff, or would you bring in Bradshaw to kick us off?
No, I'd start with Langstaff, as you keep correctly calling him there. I think, like we say, he comes in with a bit of pedigree, in the nicest way to Bradshaw. There was that talk over the summer. Is he going to go here? Is he going to go there? There was all this talk of maybe him going to Wrexham. Because he's about as Welsh as they come back home.
FC Hollywood.
FC Hollywood. Yeah. But I just think that you've made a bit of a stellar signing there. That's a bit of a statement. Again, in my opinion, that's a bit of a statement signing. There was a few clubs after him. Bradshaw's in the nicest way. He's been a good servant. I've been a big fan, but he's not getting any younger. And what's the point of bringing in these players who have got this sort of proven record in the lower leagues and want to prove themselves higher if you're going to start them on the bench? Even if you do bring them on as a sub, get started early, crack on, hat trick in by half time, we're laughing.
Bring on Kevin Nisbet for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, there we are. Well, I was going to say, yeah. Let's remember the last player that we signed who supposedly had a bit of pedigree and could have took us to the promised land.
He's got to have a big season.
Kevin Nisbet.
He's got to have a big season.
Yeah,
got to have a big season.
Yeah,
he needs it, Aaron, doesn't he? He was. I mean, it was Michael Obafemi and Nisbet were. Neil Harris took umbrage with both of them at the end of last season, so I don't know what lies behind that. Possibly overstaying their welcome, going out or something. I don't know, but he does need to establish a rapport. He needs to establish a presence at the club. Really, I mean, whenever we've seen him playing Nisbet, it's been forgettable. So there we are. I mean, I actually think, and I'll stand to be corrected by the jury that is the listeners of our show, but I think defensively we don't look too bad, chaps. I mean, Lucas Jensen, I haven't seen him. He looks like a man mountain, Aaron, quite well regarded at Lincoln City, I believe. So I'm hoping we've got a decent goalkeeper there, and I've put him behind a back four for Saturday of Ryan Leonard, Hutch, Cooper, and Joe Bryan. That's a fairly experienced looking, solid defence, I think. Is that fair comment? Do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, big boy, Lucas Jensen. A
6
lot of people
foot 5.
saying that
he
was the best or the second best goalkeeper in League One after Will Norris at Portsmouth. I mean, yeah, he's going to get plenty of experience, isn't he, out that back line as well. It'll be Tanganga and Cooper that probably start, won't it?
On a normal basis, but Tanganga's, I think, suspended for a couple of games.
Sorry, right, so it'll be Hutch and Cooper. I mean,
Hutch and Cooper Saturday, I think.
There you go. Some things never change. Water is wet, as they say.
I mean, that back line we could have rewound the clock back to 2018 almost. Apart from maybe Joe Bryan, who would have been at Fulham at the time. But that's an experienced back unit, I'd say, and I'm hopeful we're going to see Jensen flowering this season. If we're going to go 4-2-3-1, I've got Casper Denor and George Saville in front of that back four again. Whether Sav's starting to feel the creaks of his 30s in the Championship or not, I don't know. But I still think that's a fairly experienced looking midfield too. There, Denor, as Billy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Denor as well. I think he's really classy in the way he passes the ball. I think he's just that little bit different, but I'm a big fan, big fan.
And then this is my 11 listeners. Pull it to pieces as you like. In front of Denor and Saville, I've got Watmore, Essay and Inmarku, which I think is quite exciting. I mean, Essay and Inmarku need a big season, boys. You know, I mean, they've both been on the brink of being promising for so long now. This is probably the season where they need to show it, and hopefully get picked.
Well, this is the thing a bit, Nick, isn't it? Because ultimately, you know, like you're saying that there, and he needs a big season and everything like this. I can't remember Inmarku doing that much wrong that warranted him being dropped. In the first place, you know, he sort of started the season pretty well. I think he have a bit of an injury problem at one point, and then he never really got back in. But I think with Essay, this always goes back to what I say about players, and you know, like they'll do well at certain points. You know, we saw him in that FA Premier League Cup final thing, didn't we, Nick? A couple of seasons ago.
1 May ago, yeah, season ago, yeah.
And it always makes me think with managers, you could have someone like a Gary Rowett who don't fancy him, or someone will come in, and you always hear it. You've got the issue at the moment with Chelsea with Gallagher, haven't you? A new manager's come in and said you don't suit our style of play. You'll either stay and be on the bench or cheerio, off you go. But you know, you say that with Essay, you and I think we touched on it last year. You know, you've got 3 different managers / head coaches, whatever you want to call them, this week in Rowett, Edwards, and Harris, who all play completely different styles, and he never really got into any of those 3 teams. You know, and you sort of think under Edwards, yes, okay, it was a bit of a failed experiment. Don't get me wrong, but everyone says the football was better to watch under him. He just probably it's the whole classic right manager, wrong time kind of thing. But
that's a bold claim.
Well, you say that, and you're probably right. It was, and like I say, it did come off. But again, when he started his reign and beat Sheffield Wednesday. But anyway, that's old news. But my point is back with Essay is he's played for 3 completely different styles of management, and he's not really fitted into any of them. So as much as we say,
what the right position is for
that's
him,
my point. Everyone's saying, oh, he needs a big.
And I'd say the same about Inmarku. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's his right position? I think there's you can. I've put them in the 3 because I'm presuming we're going to line up as we did last season. Watmore / Honeyman in one of them, then Essay because there's no Fleming Saturday, and Inmarku for the attacking verve and vim that we need so desperately. But I mean, I would think there's always a kind of a tendency for managers. Can you get that phone, Michael?
Hey, mine, mate.
I know yours. Probably Harry.
I spent what was it I saw the other day? You spend your teenage years buying ringtones from magazines just to get older and put them on silent, don't
you? Oh dear. I mean, I lost the train of my thought now, listeners. It couldn't have been that incisive.
Get him in the team.
Inmarku, get him in the team. Play him. Let's have a look at him playing properly. I mean, it depends what formation we're going to take and whether he should be more central. There's always a tendency, that was it, to push talent players like Essay or Inmarku out to the wings when I think really it gets a bit crowded in the middle because we've got Fleming at the moment. Let's see if that comes to anything because he's injured, whether that's a real injury or a possible transfer injury, I don't know. But that's another thing. But I would think Essay centrally and Inmarku coming off of that. I suppose. I don't know. Take your pick, listeners. Up front, Bradshaw, Langstaff, or the forgotten Nisbet. Take your pick of those up front. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the season. That's all I wanted to really announce on this podcast, listeners. I'm looking forward to getting back into Birdshit Corner. I'm looking forward to the hurly-burly of Millwall. And Aaron, go on. You go for it, mate.
I just wanted to ask, what's the vibe right now around the club? Because it's very mixed, right? What I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, everything's really mixed. Like, people aren't really sure what to expect.
No one knows what to expect. I mean, I'm supposed to be doing a conversation with a Watford podcast where they're looking for me to tell them what to expect out of Millwall. I don't know.
Have you got that signed off by Wall Talk?
Oh yeah,
I haven't heard any more.
How's the new gig on?
I haven't had any more contact from Wall Talk. Whether that was a one-off
You've been used.
show.
You've been used. This is like those Tinder dates where you've not promised anything, Nick, so they're not ringing you back.
I think Mark. In fairness, Mark is away on his honeymoon, so I think there mightn't be any further action on that. We were supposed to be doing
No
a
action
show
on the honeymoon, Aaron. Shocker.
I don't know about. I'm sure there's we'll leave it there. But yeah, no, there's been no more Wall Talk since my one and only appearance. But I will be there if they want me anyway.
Nick Hartman, come and get me, please.
Yeah.
Nick, you asking for a
Nick
transfer?
Hart joins Lions TV.
The pay is terrible on all of these shows. I can tell you that much.
No, we're going back. Well, you know what you were saying about the vibe just then, Aaron. I'll be honest. I'm not sure if this if it's wrong. I have to say this is incredible work by the media team. But with their little sunny holiday out in Spain and all the photos you see, I think one thing you can say about Neil Harris is that he does bring that kind of speech marks Millwallness about it. From the photos and the smiling faces and the kids' open training session, that my boys went down to and my nieces and nephews and all that. It seems like there's a good vibe down there. What? It's the whole cliche. What happens behind closed doors, you don't know. But it seems okay. I mean, like we started and touched on the show, Nick. I don't think we're expecting to challenge for the top 6, but I don't think we're looking over our shoulders as much as we previously did in Neil Harris campaigns.
I wouldn't expect to, Mike. I mean, my take on the vibe. I'm going to see what Harry thinks about the vibe at Millwall. I think it's probably rather. I think it's realistic. I mean, that's not a particularly exciting thing to say, is it? But I think there's a general sense that we can't compete at the financial top table. Anyone with any experience of the den knows that we're probably going to be signing players like Langstaff, for example, unknown quantities. We're going to hope they work. Chance they won't, because that's the way of the market. But I personally believe if we can be in mid-table by Christmas, if that's possible, that might all be laughed at in my face when we get there, then we've always got the chance of that kind of run on the 6th spot, and that's kind of the target of the club.
Well, who do we think then? Really, I mean, sorry to take this over, Nick. This is your show, but it's just like because we've got Aaron on here, BBC wise and all that. If we think we're going to be mid-table, then who do we realistically think the bottom 3, bottom 4 are going to be this season then in the Championship? Oxford.
Who do we think?
Oxford, Plymouth,
Watford,
possibly.
Watford aren't very good, and there's a civil war kicking off there at the moment.
Is there? Watford.
Tom Cleverley.
I don't know.
Strikes me as Jamie O'Hara's better PR'd mate.
I'll think about that one. Who knows? Okay. Who knows?
I just think it's one of those. We said it a little while ago, didn't we? That for the first time in a long time, you've got no speech mark like small teams or no mugs in this division. Like we've all.
Well, there's a saying at the Las Vegas tables, Michael. If you can't see the patsy, it's probably you at the table.
There we
I
are.
think there's probably a slight sense of if you can't see the lightweight team, it might be us.
Talk about positivity and realism, Nick. Yeah, thanks, mate. No, but I mean, normally where like we said a couple of shows ago when I was on, normally you'd look at league table and you go, right, okay, well Burton might be down, Wigan might be down, Rotherham will be down there. You could pretty much pick your bottom 3 before the season starts, or 3 of your bottom 5. But I mean, like I say, Oxford maybe, Plymouth maybe. Apart from that, who realistically?
What about Derby?
If they. Yeah, but this goes back to it. But it was like I know Nick, you spoke about it before when there was talk about going down in the reset, and yes, you don't want to go down there because there's no guarantee you go back up. But is that Derby relegation / promotion the reset they needed? But then they lost in a pre-season friendly, and they're shouting for their manager to be
they
left.
have got a specialist. They have got.
They still feel that there's a hangover from administration from a couple of years ago. They feel there's a hangover from administration. I think that Portsmouth feel that there was a hangover from theirs. Derby said 2 years ago they were up shit creek without a paddle, and they're still looking for help. Effectively, they're still looking to try and boost this squad. That it's a work in progress, and yeah,
They've got a manager that is very relegation-y at the Championship level. I mean, realistically, Wayne Rooney.
Who's their manager?
Paul Warne, isn't it?
Rooney? I don't know.
Uncle Nick, you checked out for football.
And
a long
Wayne
time
Rooney's
ago,
still in
didn't
charge of Derby. Lewis Sibley is still the best 10 in the Championship in Nick's head.
I suppose QPR might be contenders in the bottom bracket. I mean, I suppose many do say that we're contenders for the bottom bracket. It remains to be seen how much energy we can get going at the Den. Really, I think that's going to be our crucial thing. Historically, you'd have said Luton Town, but of course they've had a free ride in the Premier League, so they're going to be loaded. So they shouldn't struggle.
Okay. What about Stoke City now that they basically own all of Stoke?
I don't know.
Probably a mid-table morass, isn't it? Like that's the problem.
It's the whole, so on their website it's like Stoke City now owned by John Coates. Potter's debt free and have ownership of.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of debts written off, and now they own the stadium, and now they own this, and now they own that, and
that just basically
now they have no
bollocks.
debt whatsoever, and they own the training ground. So
I think people expected when John Walters went in as technical director at the back end of last season after Ricky Martin living La Vida Loca out of there. People expected them to sign a different kind of player. He's gone and brought in Sam Gallagher, a forward that doesn't particularly enjoy scoring goals. He's hit single figures pretty much every season since 2016, I think it is. So he's not prolific, but I don't understand. I don't understand what they do. Do you know what? Tyrese Campbell, Kevin Campbell's boy. I know obviously he's had some tragedy with someone losing his father, but Tyrese Campbell would be such a shout for Millwall. Just rehabilitate him, make him fall in love with football again, because the Den would get behind him. He's on his day. He's a real attacking player. He's exciting. He's got flair. He's got it all, but he needs that backing. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's something interesting about him.
It's been interesting looking at some of the predictions. I mean, I'm always wary of predictions, and if anyone was that good at predicting, they'd be rich people and need to be doing it in the first place. But I've seen Sunderland tipped, I've seen Sheffield Wednesday tipped as contenders, and you'd always going to be thinking in terms of Leeds. And I do wonder whether just a sheer scale of club, there's a weight that just says you're going to have much more money because you've got that much bigger stadium. You're going to generate crowds 2 or 3 times as big as a team like Millwall, for example. So, it remains to be seen. Wednesday's got, is it Danny Roll, the German manager? So he's got a reputation for playing nice stuff. Who knows? I actually think it's a really hard league to predict, and I don't know that anyone that claims any kind of insight, I think, is probably a charlatan, dear listeners. Let's see what they're like when they get in front of a decent crowd at the Den, and we'll go from there. I mean, I do think, just to dwell on the Millwallness factor, I think that is it's the one thing we do have that can make a difference. How far that energy can run. It's a 46-game league programme. So it won't take you forever, but it will hopefully give you a decent chance at some decent home form, and that's crucial for us.
Yeah, I mean, win at home and draw away, we'll be fine. There you go. It's as simple as that, isn't it? It's not a hard scenario. I know Millwall fans have kind of got used to a Gary Rowett go, sit back, win 1-0 away from home, boil, piss performance. But realistically, we're now getting them at home, and
which got us in the top 10 for every season, Harry.
Well, I'd rather win our own games. I'm sorry if that makes me a football philistine, but going to the Den and maybe not expecting, but hoping and feel a win is possible is a fucking very very big drawing point on a season ticket support. Like under Rowett for the last, I know we're harping back to last season, but it was from the season before we didn't win in the run into when we missed out on the playoffs. We didn't win a lot of home games the second half of that season, and we definitely didn't win any under Rowett at the start of last season, and we definitely didn't win any under Edwards. So fucking, to suddenly be winning at home is a massive plus point.
Achtung, Millwall.
I've drawn up a list just for a bit of fun, listeners, because obviously no one really knows how the season's going to go. So, we wait to see, watch it unfold from Friday night, I think it starts, and Saturday onwards for us. But I've drawn up a very loosely defined list of Millwall-related players who have been transferred. I've mentioned already John Marquis, going from Bristol to Shrewsbury. Never really made it beyond that level, John Marquis, boys, did he? But scored quite effectively at League One and below level. So, it's quite an adequate career to be made out of being that. It's accepting that, I think, is probably the hard part for many players, accepting that's your level. But he's gone to Shrewsbury. We've mentioned Troy Parrott, who's briefly on loan to us, assigned as the saviour, which I fell for, I do admit. Tottenham to AZ Alkmaar for an undisclosed fee. I did see €6 million mentioned, but whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I hope they kept the receipt.
Player that many were seeking like a sweetheart off of Tinder is the app of choice, I believe, for the kids these days, listeners. Charlie Cresswell, Harry, had gone from Leeds United to Toulouse in the French league for an undisclosed fee. He was had a good season with us, didn't he, Charlie? But moved on to Ligue 1 in France.
Yeah, I mean, he had nothing to lose, to do the pun, from leaving Leeds.
That's a good one. I like that one. I wasn't expecting that. Jamie Shackleton, briefly his loan partner, leads to Sheffield United on a free transfer. Harry's favourite player, Ryan Woods, has left Hull City and gone to the seaside, the leafy environs of Exeter City on a free transfer to bring his brand of passing football to the Devonian crowd down there.
Not a fan. The silence says it all.
No,
Harry's got
I was trying
no comment on that.
He fell off his chair.
Over a new leaf of not. I wasn't going to rise to the bait, but the backwards passing merchant. Where's Ryan Tunnicliffe?
I'm serving you bait. I'm like the fisherman down at the dockside near where I live.
Sorry for the delay, Nick. I was looking for train times to Exeter twice a month.
Go and watch him.
Yeah.
Ben Amos, goalkeeper, with us briefly, gone Wigan to Port Vale. Scott Malone, chaps. Scott Malone has joined Crew.
Well, that's stinking, by the way. Wigan to Port Vale.
Wigan to Port Vale. That's a grim journey. Scott Malone, very much at the back end of his career now. Gillingham to Crawley. Another one for you, H. Jordan Archer has joined Portsmouth from QPR on a free transfer.
Oh, please let their keeper get injured. Please let their keeper get injured.
Do you know the thing is though, right? And this sort of goes back to what we were saying about like how much money Millwall have got and all this kind of stuff. Now, regardless of, maybe out of all those, you can say who actually did well for us was probably Creswell, like that young player with a bit of experience and all that kind of stuff. And he's gone to League On, because you got to remember, weren't Shackleton's a loan to permanent deal, and we declined it or something like that. I'm sure it was something like that.
Can't remember.
But this goes back to the caliber of the player that we're going for, really, in the sense that these players who we signed, who we thought they'd be the bee's knees and all that, are now ending up in League 1 and League 2.
Yeah.
Age has caught up with one or two of them. Age has caught up with them, but Shackleton's joined a piss poor Sheffield United team. Yeah, like Creswell's gone abroad. They're not pulling up any trees when they move on, are they?
True. Player of the season, 2015 to 16, Jordan Archer H.
Yep.
A long while ago now.
It was a long while ago. And I think for legal
briefly
reasons,
with us.
that's the best we're going to get out of that for legal reasons.
He was only with us a little while, but I think he had some issues to deal with, so we won't dwell on that too much. Harry Smith gone from Sutton to Swindon on a free. Alex Mitchell, of course, left Millwall for Charlton Athletic. Undisclosed. I'm going to guess that's in search of regular first team football. We have spoken about him before, but I suppose it was a surprising move, but no room for him at the Den, really, I guess.
It's a mistake. Why didn't we give him a try? It's a mistake.
Ryan Alsop. Do you remember Ryan Alsop? He was eternally the substitute goalkeeper.
Wasn't he? Yeah.
He's gone on to
calls himself Rocky.
Does he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Rocky also.
Hull to Birmingham, undisclosed fee.
He'd do well there.
This is the
Birmingham
most forlorn one here, chaps, because of the kind of tension between talent unfulfilled and the grimness of the location. But Conor Mahoney has left Huddersfield and has gone to Barrow on a free transfer. Now, I think Aaron, you said Wigan to Port Vale is a grim transfer. I make travelling from Huddersfield to Barrow.
You've been at Barrow,
grimmer one still. No, I used to work with a guy who was a Workington fan, Carlisle fan, which is normally considered the outer fringes of the Football League, and he said you don't want to go to Barrow; it's a long way out there.
The thing is, I'll tell you, Barrow, it's so far out. Imagine the players don't actually train in Barrow; they train in Manchester.
No?
Travel up to Barrow.
Is that where they make the nuclear submarines, Barrow?
Yes. So it's like a town where they
Faslane is out that way.
So basically, it's a bit like Chernobyl. No one wants to live there. It's a shithole, and there's an exertion zone around it or something like that.
Speaking of which, how's the club shop, Michael?
I think there's a lot.
Oh yeah, wonderful. The green away kit is doing wonders, I reckon, because it's such a popular design.
I've got two more.
Next
for you, boys.
There'll be crap on the horizon. Don't worry. Go for it.
Two
Nick,
more.
sorry.
Lee Gregory's gone Sheffield Wednesday into Mansfield on a free transfer, and finally, James Henry's joined Aldershot from Oxford United. There we are. That's my list of Millwall-related transfers. I'll only include that just for a bit of light relief away from the fact we don't really know what's going to happen this season. And that was the point of the show, really, to try and give you some insight, listeners. I'm not sure we've really done that, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to Saturday, Watford at home. Aaron, do you fancy us to beat Watford? Should be an emotional day with the whole Matthias Sarkic tribute. I'm hoping that we can use that to get some energy and get a win at home at the start of the season.
Hoping it harnesses the den. I hope there's a good crowd down there. I know people are annoyed about this new handbags rule. Have you seen it? No bag bigger than an A4 bag. So Harry, your lunchbox has got to be shrunk down, mate, unfortunately. Otherwise you're paying £6 to store it somewhere. So,
but we're not taking responsibility of the storage.
No,
that's right. So I don't know what you're paying £6 for, Millwall, if you're listening, because that should cover insurance in case stuff gets nicked.
Anyway, so going back to it, you would hope that it harnesses the den. It's a powerful place, that stadium, and on its day, it's got a real lasting effect, and it can do some damage to opposition teams. Watford aren't great. I think that they're gonna. The fans are up in arms at the moment because the Pozzo family, who own the club, they're spending money at Udinese in Italy, and Watford spent something like 200 grand all summer. They've barely done any business. I don't know them. I don't know. I think they lack an outlet up front, and if Millwall can go and if they can have a bit of pace, show a bit of ambition with Amaku and Esse, that'd be all right,
Fingers crossed.
Well, at least hopefully it's better than last season's opening game, where I feel
Bristol.
We had somebody in charge who doesn't know how to harness, who never understood how to harness.
It's good to see since he's left, you've let it go, Harry. You know what I mean?
Fuck
and
it.
You're not still holding on to it.
I genuinely. The reason that I'm so pissed off is that the bloke, the champion.
We've not even started yet, and he's not even in charge, and you're still.
No, but our chance. This is the realistic part of it. That was our chance, and he'd got us into a position where if he had just wasn't as fucking stubborn and as much of a cunt that he was, he'd have actually got over the line. But the bloke was a fucking prick, and couldn't understand how to harness 5% of the den and get us over the line. And now this is what you're left with when the championship gets harder, because it wasn't particularly stacked in the years that he got good finishes. Even though he'd still never matched Harris's points total, by the way. We now end up where we are. So now everyone moaning about mid-table. Well, unfortunately, the chance of lesser teams being in this division has gone, and we're now in a quite a stacked championship, in my opinion, in terms of everyone has got more money than us, which is which is fun, I suppose, when you're trying to recruit players. But that's being negative. Thank fuck it's starting, and thank fuck we'll get back down now. Unfortunately, it's a 12:30 kickoff, so outside you'll be day drinking, shall we say, in the heat. Moderation should be
Get
what's
them
the word?
Perettis going.
It's not Peretti anymore. We got what's it? Hurleyman? Is it Hurleyman's inside?
Hurley, they've gone back to Hurleyman's, have they?
Well, it is in the beer dispenser thing on my side, and one of them hole in the walls with no
Hurleyman's was the cause of many a poor boy's decline on the Coldblow Lane terraces back in the 80s. Anyway, there we are. Michael, you going to be there Saturday, mate?
Yeah, should be. Can't see why not. As long as I set my alarm in time for that stupid kickoff. But hey ho.
Does anyone know if fucking Blackwall Tunnel's shut before we go on? As this is the consumer advice point of the podcast.
I wouldn't trust it on a Saturday. I'd go by train, mate. I wouldn't. I did see that
yeah, you can't drive. You can't get a train to South Bermondsey. You know, it'd be a laugh, wouldn't it?
Saturday,
There's something that tells me they don't want Millwall fans in town.
Saturday 17th to Monday 19th. So it's
open. Shut. Yeah. Oh, it's open. Okay.
It's open. Should be open. Just to close us, dear listeners, Harry has persuaded me to set up a fantasy football league, and I kind of hate fantasy football leagues, but I've joined it anyway. The Achtung EFL Fantasy League. I'm going to stick the joining details on there. We want to try and get as many as we can on. We're asking people to donate a £5 to the Lions Food Hub when you join it. Purely voluntary, gentleman's honour. I'm not checking out if anyone has or hasn't done it. But join the Achtung EFL Fantasy League and you can engage in banter with Harry, myself, and the other boys on there about your choices.
Is there a prize?
Lack of acumen. Harry's going to come up with a prize, a little trophy, like a replica of Gary Rowett's head. It's like a
bust.
A bust of some sort.
Like a
Jules Rimet with Gary Rowett holding the angel's wings behind him.
The memoirs of a Gary Rowett season by Harry Warren. It's got expletives all the way through it.
I think we've run out of petrol on this particular car journey, chaps. It's great to see you, Aaron. Looking forward to the season, mate. It must be good to get back to normal again.
Yeah, can't wait
for the summer.
Gonna be good. I'm knackered already, mate.
All right, mate. I'll let you crack on. Harry, you're thanks for joining us. I know it's difficult from work, but good to talk to you again. And Michael Avery, good to see you, mate. Well done with the Dockers Debate podcast. Oh, if anyone wants to nominate the Dockers Debate podcast for a prize, I had an email from the Football Content Awards. I will stick this link on the show notes as well, asking for people to nominate their favourite podcast. You can't nominate yourself, but you can nominate another one. So if anyone wants to nominate the Dockers Debate Ear of Town podcast,
have we made the shortlist, or is this still the one we're clinging on to desperately?
No, they're still trying to generate nominations. So they've sent me a reminder email in case I think I did do it already. But
yeah, nominate us. It would help the club out, and it can be another trophy for the trophy cabinet.
So I'll stick the notes in the show notes. And there we are. Big thank you, boys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to you too, dear listeners, for joining the show. Listen to the show. Until the next edition of Achtung Millwall, which will be Saturday after the game. From all of us, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Sports Social Podcast Network.